Hello and welcome to the world of stories. I'm sure you're here for a bedtime story to help you drift into sleep. And so, let's begin. High upon the mountainside, there was once a giant who was always very sleepy. And when he went to sleep, he would sleep for hundreds of years at a time. So every time he woke, things had changed a great deal. He spent time as a herdsman, but he did not like being poor, so he went back to sleep. On another visit, he spent time as a rich farmer, but he found his servants cheated him, so he went back to sleep. When he eventually awoke again, he wandered down the mountainside to see what he could see. He came upon a rock pool where a waterfall tumbled down the rocks. A group of laughing girls was sitting dangling their toes in the water. The giant hid and watched. One of the girls was quieter than the others, but to the giant she was the prettiest. Her name was Elizabeth, and she was to be married in a few days to the young duke. She and her friends chatted about the forthcoming celebrations as they paddled in the pool, and all the while the giant watched. When they skipped away, his heart grew sad. He realized just how very lonely he was. He decided to try to win Elizabeth's heart. All through the night he worked. He covered the steep stone under the waterfall with white marbles so it sparkled in the clear water. He lined the pool with silver and filled it with darting golden fish. He covered the banks with rich green grass planted with sweetly smelling violets and forget-me-nots and deep blue hyacinths. Then he hid himself again. When the girls arrived, they were astonished, but Elizabeth looked thoughtful. She knew that some powerful enchantment had been at work. She wandered to the edge and looked deep into the silver pool full of the golden fish. And as she looked, she heard a voice, whispering to her to step into the pool. There was a sudden splash, and as her friends looked around in alarm, Elizabeth slipped into the pool. The girls ran over to the pool and looked into the silver depth. In vain, they tried to find her. When they went home and told the young duke, he came with all haste to the pool. All the giant's adornments had vanished. The waterfall fell over steep and black rocks. The silver lining and the golden fish had disappeared from the pool, and there was not a single flower to be seen. Sadly, the duke went back to the palace, and nothing would cheer him. Meanwhile, Elizabeth found herself in the giant's garden. He begged her to stay with him and be his queen, but she told him she loved the duke and would not forsake him. The giant hoped she would forget the duke, but as the days passed, he saw that she grew pale and sad. He wondered how he could cheer her and change her mind. And then he remembered his magic staff. Whatever it touched would turn into any animal he wished for. He gave the staff to Elizabeth, and for a few hours she was happy as first a kitten, then a dog, then a canary appeared, thanks to the staff. But it was not long before she grew silent again. Now, the giant grew very good carrots, and he was very proud of his carrots. He pulled some for supper, and Elizabeth said she had never tasted such delicious carrots in all her life, which was true. So the next day, the giant took Elizabeth out onto the field around the castle where the carrots grew. As far as the eye could see, there were carrots, row upon row of them. Elizabeth asked the giant how many there were, but he couldn't tell her that at all. So she begged him to count at least one row, and as he began counting, she quickly drew the staff out from under her cloak and touched the black stone that lay on the ground. It turned into a black horse with great hoofs that pounded the earth as Elizabeth mounted its back and fled down the valley away from the giant. The very next day, Elizabeth married her duke, and they lived happily ever after. The lonely giant went slowly back to his garden and fell into a deep sleep. Many hundreds of years passed, and still the giant never awoke. In time, grass and plants and trees grew over the slumbering giant, and still he slept on. Over the years, the mound that was the sleeping giant became known as the Giant Mountain, and so it is still called today. So beware if you see giant rows of carrots on the mountainside. You might be very near a sleeping giant. That's it for tonight. Thank you for listening. Have a great night. Please like and subscribe if you like my contents. I shall update daily and continue with my best efforts. Good night.